Welcome back to the Portraits in Fitness channel. My name is David, and as I've been doing for the last 12 weeks plus, today I'm giving another update on my journey on the carnivore way of eating. And I finally arrived at the 90-day mark, the long-anticipated 90-day mark, where I had set out to really take stock in how things are going for me, what I've experienced thus far, and maybe some adjustments that I might want to be making and incorporating going forward. I also want to address a few things about my channel and the direction that I may be going forward as well. So I wanted to give a really quick update and summary, beginning with my appearance on Dave Mack's No Carb Life channel. Dave Mack is wonderful. I love his channel, and I was honored and delighted to be a guest on his channel. You can find it at Zero Carb or No Carb Life on YouTube. And that was exactly on my 90-day carniversary. So there you have it. I had lots to talk about. There were lots of great comments, and I'm really grateful and appreciative of Dave and his channel, and truly appreciate all the excellent feedback and comments that I got on that video. I went over a lot of my backstory, and I summarized the benefits that I've experienced in 90 days on carnivore. But in case you didn't see that, I will reiterate those benefits in a moment. But I really wanted to begin with emphasizing my philosophy and outlook on various things. And I did. And so I didn't cover everything, believe it or not, especially the bumps in the road part that I mentioned I had experienced over this period, which I cover sufficiently in my weekly update videos. And I was really pleased to see that there was quite a bit of interest in the comments on my statement about terrain theory and my elaboration about some of the reasons why. And I open my remarks with this because it really encapsulates my outlook on our bodies, health, and the world around us. There are lots of people that really do a great job in demonstrating convincingly to my satisfaction that, put simply, our bodies are not at war with pathogens, whether they exist, which no one has proven, or not. And you can find a lot of those people and their channels, maybe not quite on this platform, but you'll find them. They have their own websites, they have Substacks. You can probably find some of them here on YouTube, and they are also on some other video platforms. But shout out to the Baileys in New Zealand. You can also find the work of Dr. Tom Cowan, Andrew Kaufman, Alex Zeck, the Way Forward podcast, Eric Francis Coppolino, John Rappaport, the godfather of debunking AIDS and HIV. Mike Stone, his Virology website is fabulous. He also blogs on Substack. Amanda Vollmer, Steve Falconer with his Space Busters channel, as well as many older books mostly that demonstrate, as I said, to my satisfaction at least, that we don't belong to this germ theory paradigm. The world doesn't really work the way we're led to believe. And so I believe this is really important because it eliminates our victimhood on one level, i.e., we've been attacked. There's nothing we can do. We're just at the mercy of this pathogen that comes and jumps into our system and starts exploding our cells and taking over and hijacking. And at the same time, they tell us that it's dead matter. How does that work? So while on another level, it dismantles the allopathic medical model of one germ, one disease, which leads directly to one disease, one drug, or one cure. And I think that anyone following or interested in the carnivore way of eating probably arrived here after taking a good look around them, at some point realizing that we're constantly lied to. And this is one of those big lies. And it also lessens, I can't say it eliminates or cures, but it lessens the compulsion in most people, I believe, to find easy passive solutions like popping a pill or taking an injection or supplements or using some kind of a device rather than fixing what's going on in their body and around them and reducing stress and all the various things we can do to just what's traditionally called boosting our immune system. That's another question to pose. Do we have an immune system? So there are still lots of addictions that many people have to easy fixes. And there's also a lot of traps to fall in. Maybe you don't fall for a certain paradigm or a certain way of looking at things, but then there's also a bunch of traps laid out to get you to really not take accountability for your life, maybe continue to look for quick fixes or even hurt yourself or just to spend money on snake oil. So for a really brief 90-day summary, I made a short video the other day. It's only about 30 seconds long. And I went over the really good benefits that I've experienced with the carnivore way of eating in my first 90 days. So really quick, I went over it in my video with Dave Mack, but here we go. I've dropped around 28 pounds in 90 days, 40 pounds since I decided to fix my back issues, get stronger, and lose weight last year. So I can't refer to myself as 40 pounds ago or 50 pounds ago when I was active as an athlete because I'm almost close to race weight again, even though I'm not racing. I'm not doing a lot of aerobic exercise. I'm just taking walks, like parking really far from my photo studio here so I can get into exercise on the way to and from my studio. The latest, which is kind of cool, is I weighed myself today after eating 3 pieces of bacon, 2 eggs, and 3 sausages. And I was at the same weight I was on an empty stomach after waking up two mornings ago. So that's pretty cool. I stopped snoring, which is huge. I stopped biting my nails. Don't ask me why, but it's nice not to just always have my fingers in my mouth. My gums don't bleed, which is really cool. And I am having a blast rediscovering clothes that I haven't fit for years and buying new apparel. And not only that, but I'm buying down a size. Again, like a lot of carnivores, I'm not hungry between meals. I can fast whenever I want to. So if I feel like I want to go on a 36-hour fast or maybe even 72 hours, I can do that. But most days I'm OMAD, 1 meal a day. I don't have BO. Do you? My sense of smell is actually accentuated, and I unfortunately do notice BO on other people more than before, which is kind of nasty. And lastly, I have rosacea scarring that is healing. So it's definitely the skin tone is evening out a little bit, but I do still have some minor outbreaks. But the overall trend is that my skin is healing. And all of this reinforces my faith in our body's ability to heal. If we just get out of our body's way, don't look for quick fixes, take accountability, nourish our bodies, reduce our stress, sleep well, have trust and faith that our Creator doesn't make mistakes and that there's a plan for us. And on the flip side, so there have been a few minor bumps in the road that I mentioned on my interview with Dave Mack, but nothing that is really on the radar at the moment. I did experience some severe acute back pain at the 6-week mark, which I described in my week 6 update video. So I won't belabor that point here. But the good news is that that is completely gone. Gone. The weakness or the discomfort in my back, and which I believe was all caused by a gastric issue of some sort, that a blockage, that was also corroborated by my acupuncturist. She felt that there was a disturbance in the force of my digestive channel. So things are decent and energy levels are kind of the last piece. I'm noticing that, looking back, they haven't stayed entirely constant throughout this period. I've had a little ebb and flow, and I think that's related to my dietary intake and maybe my over fixation. I hate to say that, admit it, but I'm a little bit over interested in losing weight, and I need to back off on that perhaps. Just not get on the scale too often. I don't get on the scale daily, but maybe just a little too often, and just let things kind of settle in at homeostasis naturally. So looking ahead, what I'm monitoring and what I might be adjusting is that related to that energy issue. So I'm noticing some uneven energy levels. But the really interesting thing to me, as somebody who's never really been a morning person, and my friend Shane actually had a large impact on me even getting up to train before work. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do it back in the day. But I notice I'm feeling more like a morning person, just on an energy level. And also at around 8 p.m., I'm feeling tired, and I just don't want to stay active. I don't want to work on anything. I don't even really want to like watch a program of any sort. I just kind of want to read and unwind and get ready for bed. And this is new, and it seems like a really good thing to me, a nice development. And perhaps it might even tie into my interest in reducing or eliminating my coffee consumption, because if I'm feeling energized in the morning, you never know, right? So maybe for a next stop, I might be trying to rise with the sun if I get to bed early enough and my sleep is satisfying enough. So I might rise with the sun to get out and ground my feet on the ground and do some gazing at the sun. I do sometimes practice sun gazing. Like I said in my interview, I am solar powered and the sun loves me and I love the sun. I do think I'm a little bit low on fat intake perhaps, and that, as I said, my weight loss is probably a little bit too quick and certainly not sustainable. So I have made an effort recently to up the fat intake, and I am monitoring my GKI, in other words, blood glucose and ketone index, around twice a day. Funny story, yesterday I happened to cut my finger on a metal tape measure, and I immediately got out my kit, and I was like, well, I don't have to prick my finger, so I might as well just use the blood. And in that sense, I don't really have a precise handle of when I'm in or out of ketosis and why, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to find that out. I am not attached to that outcome, just monitoring things, and it's interesting to me. Like I said with Dave, I'm not the biggest data person in the world, but I am intuitive, and if I find a pattern, I could learn something from that. Building on the comments previously about being able to fast at any time, I think going forward, I may integrate regular planned fasting of 36 or more hours. I don't know if I'll pick a certain day for that or just go by feel. I'm intuitive, so I'll probably go by feel. And I will still consider, as I mentioned, perhaps attempting to quit coffee. Right now, I do feel it's something I'm really enjoying and somewhat addicted and attached, which I don't like in principle, but I am hanging on to it sort of as my last tie to my former life as a normal person and not a complete iconoclast in all respects, including diet. So if you're still sticking around and you're interested in what is going on this channel, what I have to say, this is kind of important, and I would love your feedback and input on this. I want to expand the scope of this channel's interest beyond the carnivore way of life and go beyond just being identified as a carnivore channel or identifying myself as a carnivore person, because I think that's dangerous, and I don't want to build a brand on just a way of eating, similar to the way I feel about certain people out there in the world who build a brand on some sorts of behaviors. Not for me. It's not something I really appreciate. So I want to ask questions. I want to learn new things. I want to empower people to seek the fulfillment of their potential, as I also mentioned on the Dave Mack conversation interview. And I will need guests to interview and share their knowledge and experience. So if you're interested, especially if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, I have this channel going, and I have Portraits in Fitness, which is an audio-only podcast at the moment. And, well, it's not. It's multimedia, and it includes studio and action portraits of my subjects. So if you're an active athlete or somebody who's just goes out and just gets workouts done and is very active and does cool things and goes on adventures and, can run up a mountain at the drop of a hat, or just launch a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard into the water and start paddling away, or you'll sign up for a race, or even just go out on some kind of running or trekking adventure at any time. Maybe you're a marathon swimmer. Who knows? The first person I interviewed for my show is a tap dancer who stays fit by going to the gym, and he's super fit and active, and that was really cool conversation. So building on those ideas, I probably will either change the name of this channel, or I will keep it to stay tied in with my audio-only podcast. And if I do keep the name and the audio-only podcast, I will possibly launch an entirely new channel and podcast to address some of the ideas and themes that I've touched on, and kind of branching out from the idea that we and God are in control, and we should not feel helpless in this world. We shouldn't look for quick fixes and solutions, and to understand how God's design works, how our bodies work. We should have faith in the way it works and that it does work. Let it work. And how do we facilitate healing? How do we facilitate thriving? These are the things that I'm looking forward to addressing, and also hearing from guests on my channel, on my podcast going forward. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today on this video. I really appreciate all your input and feedback. If you haven't liked and subscribed, well, please do. And I hope if you came from the Dave Mack channel that you'll stick with us on our future updates. So until then, as always, be good to yourself.